individuals, talented persons. Therefore, if the history was built on talent, even more so will be set for the future. Second topic object of talent. Talent is a potential capacity which is developed. So it's a potentiality that comes through, that is reflected. So all this comprises problems about talent. We have genetic-based inborn skills that are inaccessible, considering the scientific state of the art. And on the other pole, on the other extreme, we have talent as an observable evidence that can be measured in the field, in the form of attitude, behavior, outcomes by individuals. The process of education, of training, should be framed there. But we need to define inborn skills, because they start to be conditioned by the environment even before we are born. Despite this intrinsic difficulty, our approach is to promote, to foster, to drive, to spur, on the one hand, scientific research, and on the other hand, taking this pragmatic principle into account, striving towards the design of projects for early specific detection or identification of talents, of high capacities, so as to establish procedures that develop at most that capacity, that skill. We can all think about great talent. We gave a lot of examples, but for giving a current example, Messi, the football player, wouldn't be what he is today hadn't he been detected, identified in his childhood, especially if he hadn't been given the professional resources that were necessary. And even more importantly, he wouldn't have reached this degree of excellence if he hadn't made a real effort, if he hadn't worked hard enough. So everything is conditioned by a dimension of willingness and personal effort. Third principle, universality. All of us have a talent. When we speak about 10% of highly gifted people, this is a mere statistic. So there are gradual differences, never qualitative differences. These are artificial segmentations, but they are necessary so as to make the appropriate decisions. We need to consider diversity, and we cannot be based on generality to act. We want to act differently for different groups with different needs, but as a main principle, we have social justice. We should avoid filters due to social origin, cultural conditions that have an impact on academic outcomes. So we must guarantee the same conditions for all individuals, regarding of their geographical origin, etc. Methods for early detection are the procedure that guarantees equal opportunities, that guarantees the efficient development of inborn skills of all of us. So we should guarantee the highest educational result, but we need to act differently according to the needs. So those that have more shouldn't be given more opportunities, just the contraries. Those that have less will possibly need more inputs. The fourth principle is transcendence. Ken Robinson said yesterday that talent gives a sense to our life. Talent is the expression of our best capabilities that are developed to the highest level, possible level, with our willingness, our emotions. We call it very often vocation. Therefore, helping people to identify their high capabilities, their best capabilities, and if possible, help them develop them at most, helps individuals be happier and to be self-fulfilled. Fifth principle, talent is a right. It's the right for equal opportunities so as to develop our own capabilities. This can only be achieved through a greater individualization of the learning process. We need a radical, a dramatic change in the educational paradigm. I don't want you to interpret it as a criticism for the educational systems. We all belong to the educational systems. But we need to reform the school. In the last 10, 15 years, we've been immersed in radical and profound transformations in the economic, financial, business environment in the market. But the school, the educational system must change. So, Luis, I ask you to finish. It's up to all of us to develop talent, public-private partnership. The result of this development should elevate the general educational status in general terms, thanks to innovation at school. The objectives or goals are summarized in three great objectives: processes for early detection, educational intervention to develop those skills that have been identified, and finally, reintegration. We make great efforts to retain, to attract talent. The main factor, decisive or determinant factor for attracting and developing talent is the origin of the person. Ninth, how can we develop talent? With new methods, new technologies that will allow to individualize, to personalize learning processes, that allow to accelerate, to speed up the process if we provide the adequate stimuli. And we need new technologies that enrich the current paradigm of education. Methodologies coming from the human sciences, some others coming from business sciences. They consist on pursuing goals based on rationality, common sense, looking for efficiency and efficacy of resources. The great challenge of the educational system to develop talent is improving costs. That's the main goal, cutting costs. And what's the main facilitator of this process? The civil society should have tax incentives, etc., to carry out economic investments in developing countries so as to facilitate altruism and solidarity. As we are running out of time, I invite you to visit our website and a project that is still on beta phase, which is really promising, nos.com, a platform on semantic technologies that will allow us to build a community based on talent, so as to develop intellectual resources of all the members of that community. Finally, as we don't have time, I invite you to visit the webpage promete.org. This is our nuclear core project, La Rioja Promete. We've made an assessment of nearly 3,000 students of primary education, 128 school centers. So there will be an intervention with online courses with 362 students that could possibly have high high capabilities, and I hope to come back next year to tell you about the results of this project. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear her. Por favor, que no le escucho. No le oigo, por favor.